Ashurbanipal is the newest archer rally commander that has been added to Rise of Kingdoms, and in today's video, I'm going to be making my Ashurbanipal in-depth guide, going over all of his skills, telling you which ones are the most valuable, does he need his expertise, and also discussing what he does well and what he doesn't. I will go over his best commander pairings for rally and open field, I'll discuss his best talent pairings for rally and open field, and finally I'll tell you, is he even worth the investment? So if you're interested in Ashurbanipal, if he's a good commander or not, and how to use him to his maximum potential, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now let's start off today's video by going over all of Ashurbanipal's skills, because skills are the most important part of any commander. And to begin with, we have his active skill, which is a 1000 rage cost AoE skill where he deals direct damage to 5 enemy troops in a fan-shaped area. Damage factor 1500, every additional target reduces the damage by 15%, but he also deals extra damage to the current target that is hitting, damage factor of 1000, and this is a very decent amount. It gives him up to 2500 damage factor in a single target situation, which is actually more than Boudica Prime. Who would have guessed an AoE commander is dealing more damage than Boudica Prime? Not me, but Ashurbanipal in a single target situation, if he's not hitting anyone else, can deal more damage than Boudica. If he's hitting other marchers though, it can go down to something like maybe 1900 to 2000 damage factor to basically one target, and then the rest take less damage. But we'll have to see where those exact numbers sit. I don't know them off the top of my head, but that active skill, even though it's just damage, is a fairly meta amount. Second skill right here is just a stat skill. He gains 20% increased attack for all his archer units, and while he's not on alliance territory, he gains 20% defense and 15% march speed. Solid stats right there, a bit low on the attack, even maybe a bit low on the defense. The march speed though is nice to have. Keep in mind though, it's outside of alliance territory, so in a rally situation, unless you're rallying something like maybe a pass right here, which technically isn't territory yet, or maybe you're rallying a circle, you're not going to really find that he's doing too well, since outside of alliance territory is only outside of any alliance territory. Even enemy territory counts as alliance territory. So in most situations, you're not going to benefit from that second part of his second skill when rallying, but it is still nice to have for the open field. The third skill right here, he just deals a flat 20% more skill damage, and whenever his troops use an active skill while attacking a city or stronghold, the target deals 20% less normal damage for the next 3 seconds, cooldown of 5 seconds. That is a fairly strong skill right there. Keep in mind though, there is a cooldown, so you won't be able to get it to go back to back with a secondary commander, but 20% normal damage reduction pretty much is good against a Gorgo garrison. If you can outrage that garrison, you're going to make them deal a ton less damage to your commander. So that is definitely a powerful thing to have right there. Keep in mind the skill damage is open field and rally as well, but the normal damage reduction there is rally only. So it's only going to be effective when you're rallying against specific things like cities or strongholds. But in the open field, you will still benefit from that first bit, which is just dealing more skill damage, which is always nice to have, especially on an AoE commander. Then we're moving on to Ashurbanipal's fourth skill. This commander's troop takes 15% less normal damage. That is just really blunt, easy, good stats to have. Less normal damage against the current infantry meta is like less all damage, and also does make him more tanky against other marchers, because less normal damage means he's going to take lower white numbers, which is just a good thing to have. Then there's a more rally part to his fourth skill that says if he's leading a rally attack, whenever the rallied army deals direct damage, 50% chance to gain a 3% bonus to skill damage dealt for 10 seconds. This effect can stack up to 10 times when maxed, and its duration resets whenever it gains another stack. So this is pretty much just a poison effect on yourself, almost like a poison buff on yourself, allowing him to deal up to 30% skill damage, which is really good. And when you add that with his second skill right here, that is a grand total of 50% skill damage, which is definitely a powerful skill to have. And in a longer rally situation, you're going to notice that's going to be very powerful. It doesn't even have to be that long. 20 turns is really all you need, pretty much 2 skill cycles, and you'll be at that fully ramped out, maxed out state, which is very powerful. Finally, we have Ashurbanipal's expertise, and this is probably his most interesting skill, and it's very simple. Whenever he uses an active skill, either him or his secondary commander, keep that in mind. Even if he's the secondary, if the primary uses an active skill, it will trigger this expertise. He gains one of the following buffs for 4 seconds. The buff is chosen at random. these are the buffs that he can gain. And keep in mind, if he's run with a secondary commander, or even if he is the secondary commander, he can gain 2 of these buffs in one skill cycle. And they are 30% increased attack, 30% health, 30% defense, troops deal 20% more all damage, and also dealing 20% more skill damage. And that is really insane to consider. You could get 2 of these, probably the most powerful expertise I've seen in a while. Gaining 30% health is insane, and not only gaining 30% health, but also gaining 20% more skill damage is really good, and you could easily get that to trigger if you're running him with 2 commanders, which if you're using him on the open field, you're definitely going to do. And also, you could get maybe 30% health and 30% defense, or 30% health and even 30% attack. It's free stats, extra stats that are going to get you more kills and make you more tanky, so that expertise is really, really powerful. One thing to keep in mind though with his expertise skill is that the buffs do not stack. So let's say you got 2 30% attacks, then it's just going to go 30% attack and then refresh the cooldown instead of going to 60% attack. So do keep that in mind. There's no stacking between the buffs right there. But there's like so many buffs right here. In most situations, you're going to get 2 different buffs. Unless you're unlucky, you may get 2 of the same buff, but usually you'll get something like maybe skill damage and health. So you won't really find a situation where the buffs aren't too powerful if you're running a secondary commander. Usually you'll get 2 different buffs that will just make you extremely powerful. And his expertise is almost like boosting his active skill and boosting whoever he is run with their active skill as well, giving them extra stats. So I really am a massive fan of the expertise skill, and it is a very valuable thing that you want to have if you're running him in a rally or open field situation. So now that we've looked at Ashurbanipal's skills and what they can do, what are his best skill loadouts? And I think there's 2 ways you can go. First of all, since he's the current newest Archer Rally commander, if you want to use him on the open field, he's going to work. So 5551 is probably going to be a Nebu replacement, just going the first 3 skills right there. It's going to be stronger than Nebu, especially since his active skill is pretty much like a Nebu expertise right on its own. And also he's got decent stats on the second skill right here, and a good skill damage increase on the third skill. But do keep in mind, he probably gets around 40% of his value from this expertise and 4th skill as well. So that means in the future, you must expertise him. Right now, he's going to work because he's got the new meta damage, he's got meta stats, but in the future, he won't have those stats since there will be stronger commanders, and his expertise is going to be invaluable at that point because it's pretty much like a buff to whichever commander you're running him with. So I'm really a big fan of that expertise. You're going to need it if you're going to run him on the open field, and if you want to choose him, you have to be willing to expertise him at some point in the future. As for a rally situation, do I even need to say anything besides you have to expertise him? So we're going to leave that at that. The final thing I would like to discuss with Ashurbanipal's skills is very simply, what does he do well, what doesn't he do too well, and there's 2 things I can really notice that he does amazingly. In a rally and open field situation, Ashurbanipal is a really, really high damage commander. He's got AoE and he's got good single target damage. He's got a massive skill damage bonus between his 3rd skill and his 4th skill when he's rallying, and even the 3rd skill on the open field is decent. And on his expertise, he's got even more skill damage or even more normal damage, which is again really, really powerful and is going to give him a lot of extra attack. The other thing I noticed is he counters Gorgos really, really well because A, he's making him deal less normal damage, and then B, he's also taking less normal damage. So those are the 2 things he can do amazingly for the open field, not to mention he does have AoE, which I always find probably the most valuable thing in any commander. The things that he doesn't do so well though, first of all, his march speed is not very accessible. For most situations, you're probably fighting on Alliance territory. Yes, it's going to be fairly valuable on the open field, but it's not the most valuable thing. And also, he's definitely lacking in tanky stats besides normal damage reductions. He has no counter attack, he has no all damage reductions, he has no skill damage reductions, only a couple normal damage reductions here and there. So when we look at Ashurbanipal's kit, he's missing a lot of counter attack and a lot of skill damage reductions that would really take him to the next level, which is what I considered when I looked into his pairings. So now that we've gone over all of Ashurbanipal's skills, let's just go over all of his commander pairings, and we'll start off with his rally pairings. And really simply, his best and probably only good rally pairing is with Henry V, and it's a real simple reason. Henry brings a skill damage taken reduction, which, guess what? Ashurbanipal has none of that, and also Henry is bringing a counter-attack damage bonus, which Ashurbanipal is lacking. So giving him those 2 stats, which he really needed, especially in a rally situation, is really good, and it's going to be very powerful. Not to mention, Henry has revenge damage and also normal damage increases, and also taking less normal damage. So there's even more Gorgo countering right there, not to mention it makes him more tanky, and Henry has other tanky stats in his kit, like revenge damage, which will be boosted by Ashurbanipal skill damage, also Henry's counterattack, and Henry's amazing skill damage reduction on his active skill. So Henry, really, really good pairing with Ashurbanipal, and probably the only rally pairing. Obviously, commanders like Gilgamesh in some situations, commanders like Nebu in some situations, but usually I think Henry with Gilgamesh will be stronger than a Gilgamesh with an Ashurbanipal. So when we look at that march, it's probably not going to be meta, and Ashurbanipal's best rally pairing definitely is going to be Henry by far. As for the open field, I think there are three main pairings. First of all, Zulang is going to be powerful, but not absolute meta. I think Zulang has better pairings with other commanders, but if you want to run him with Ashurbanipal, it is going to work, and I wouldn't stop you. Another good pairing for Ashur is just Boudica Prime, because she's a very good primary commander. She's got the skill tree, which is nice to have, and she's got a fair amount of tanky stats between a skill damage reduction, which Ashurbanipal doesn't have, fair amount of defense when you get her below 80%. She's got all march speed at all times, a good single target damage with a skill damage increase, and immunity to silence. So there's really, really good damage there on Boudica, and some good utility, which is going to go well with Ashur. So Ashurbanipal with Boudica, definitely a good pairing. Zulang is a decent pairing, and YSG, if you have him, is going to be good. So if you're running Nebu YSG, you could consider dropping out the Nebu and running YSG, but he's probably one of those pairings which is going to get a little bit weak since YSG is not the meta anymore. The best pairing though for Ashurbanipal easily has to be Herman Prime, because Herman has crazy synergy with him. First of all, Herman has an AoE poison effect, and if you're running Ashurbanipal with Herman, Ashurbanipal is guaranteed to hit the same targets that Herman is going to hit if they stay within his AoE range. So Herman's going to make them basically take increased skill damage, which means Ashurbanipal is going to deal increased skill damage to them with his AoE. Also, Herman boosts AoE damage. Herman has all-round march speed at all times, which is going to be good, and also permanent defense, and Herman's expertise allows him to throw his active skill basically a second time. And the reason this can be really good is because with Ashurbanipal, you're able to throw Ashurbanipal's expertise an extra time when you throw Herman's expertise skill pretty much. So when you throw Herman's expertise, not only will you deal extra damage factor, but you will also gain extra stats, which is just going to be very powerful. So there's a lot of synergy right there between Ashurbanipal and between Herman, and it's probably his best open field, and maybe even, I don't know about this yet, but maybe even a possible rally pairing if you have pure open field control. So there's a lot of synergy between Herman and a lot of synergy between Ashurbanipal, and they're going to work really, really well together. So now that we've looked at everything to do with Ashurbanipal's skills and pairings, what do I think of his talent trees? And there's really two main talent trees I would run. I'm showing you a Nebuchadnezzar here because Nebu has the same talent trees as Ashurbanipal, and this is the first talent tree I'd run, and I would use this probably on the open field only, because it's probably his best open field talent tree. First of all, you've got Buckler Shield. I'm a big fan of this in open field and rally situations. Second of all, there's a lot of stats here in the Archer tree between getting these basic, I call these intermission upgrades right here. Getting these intermission upgrades give you good amount of stats. Also, Razor Sharp gives you extra rage. Plus, in these 4 talent points right here, you're getting 12% march speed, which is really good. The highlight about this talent tree, though, is gotta be Feral Nature and the skill tree, because I'm a big fan of skill tree on the open field. Getting that instant rage ramp up is insanely good, plus having Rejuvenate and a ton of other things related to skill damage mean that if you can throw your active skill quicker, you're going to deal more damage. And if you're running Ashurbanipal as a primary, which I think in most situations he'd be a good primary just for the Buckler Shield, you're going to notice you want Feral Nature to deal that quick bursty skill damage so you can run away and deal skill damage again. Run away, deal skill damage again. That's how the open field rolls, and you're going to notice Feral Nature is an amazing thing to have in those situations. It's not very good in a long situation, but in short fights where you're trying to burst out skill damage really quick, it's very powerful, and it's going to make a massive difference and be a very good thing to have. So I'm a big fan of going all in on the skill tree if you're on the open field, and then there's good stats in the Archer tree plus the Buckler Shield here to give you some extra tankiness. As for rallying, and if you don't like the skill tree, you can run something more like this, where you've gone all in on the Archer tree for the all damage. I still picked up Rejuvenate, I still picked up Tactical Mastery, and also Heraldic Shield, so this is probably his best tree for rallying, since rallies last longer, Feral Nature is not as important, and also this all damage right here is going to give a real good amount of bonus in a rally situation. Plus, if you find you're not a fan of the Feral Nature tree, running this tree can be really good and also very powerful if you prefer this over feral nature. Maybe you're really good at rage chaining, you might find this talent tree will perform a little bit better. But if you're not as good at rage chaining like me, I'm pretty bad at it, run the first talent tree I showed you. And if you're rallying or you're good at rage chaining, run this second talent tree. It's going to be a little bit more valuable, but either a higher skill and a higher micromanage, or more related to the rally situations. So now that we've looked at pretty much everything to do with Ashurbanipal, his strengths, weaknesses, his skills, his best skill upgrades, and also his best pairings for open field and rally, and finally his talent trees, what do I think of him as an investment? Because I think most players will find this the most interesting. Is he a good investment? Is he not? And for the open field, I want to start off with he's a niche investment. He's not a commander you really go pick up unless you're an archer main or unless you have a weird archer commander setup, because Ashurbanipal is a good commander, don't get me wrong, but he needs his expertise, which is expensive and difficult to justify. He has a lot of skills here which are related to rally, and there's value in his third and fourth skill pretty equally, which means they are hard to really just choose one. And also, there are other archer commanders I would choose before Ashurbanipal. For example, if you have a Boudica and you don't have a Zulang, get Zulang first. If you don't have either of those archer commanders, you could get them first. Herman Prime is definitely a better investment choice than Ashurbanipal. YSG, if you already have him, can be a good Ashurbanipal substitute. So if you have commanders like Boudica, Zulang, and YSG, you're better off getting a Herman. And if you have a Boudica and you don't have a Zulang, you're better off getting Zulang. And if you have a Herman and you don't have a Zulang, you're still probably better off getting Zulang. So in most situations, Ashurbanipal is like a fourth choice. You don't really pick him up unless maybe you don't have a good secondary to Boudica, maybe you didn't invest in YSG, or maybe you don't want to get Herman. Those are the only three situations I would say a generic normal player who's running mixed marches would consider getting Ashurbanipal. But for most players who are running 2 archer marches, 2 cavs, and 2 infantry, or 1 archer march, 2 cavs, 1 infantry, he's not the best choice for you because he's definitely more niche in his open field powers. As for maybe looking towards a 3 archer march situation, he's pretty much a must invest at that point. He's one of the better commanders. He's going to work well with Henry, who's a very good commander at that point, and also is going to be an upgrade to Nebuchadnezzar, who is often chosen within the top 3 archer marches. So for most parts, he's going to be a good choice if you're running 3 archer marches, but if you're not on the open field, he's not really going to be the best choice unless your account is in a weird position. As for rallying though, I think the real simple answer, he is going to be the meta, so you definitely want to invest in him, expertise him, you won't regret it, and he's going to do really good against those Gorgo garrisons, which are absolutely meta right now. So Ashurbanipal, lots of potential for the rally, but not as much potential when we look into things such as open field, unless you are an archer main or you've got a weird archer commander setup. So I would definitely invest in him as a rally, but maybe he's a bit more account specific if you are looking for him in the open field. Now, if you enjoyed today's video and you want to see more of my content or you want to watch me live, tomorrow is your best chance. I'll be going live at around 7 or 8 UTC. I'll have the time and the live stream linked in the pinned comment, so if you want to check it out, come on by. You can ask me questions about the new archer commanders. You can even just watch me fighting on the open field with the current archer meta, because keep in mind, I run only archer commanders, and this pass is going to probably be a very big battle between our camps. So if you want to see us fighting, if the fighting is going on, I'll go ahead with the live stream. You can watch me fight, you can ask me questions, even check out my murder ball and my marches. So if you're interested in watching me live, check out the link in the pinned comment and also in the description. Now, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.